on the NOLA film scene with TJ Plato.
I'm TJ.
And as always, I'm Plato.
This episode of NOLA Film Scene is brought to you by the law office of Jana McCaffery. And we're back! 2 lives in a week. What are we, crazy?
2 live crew.
Hey! No.
Did I just age all of it? Yeah. And it's definitely, explicit content limited.
Sure.
Yeah, we're not condoning anything mentioned by
Billy
Live
Slaughter.
and their affiliates.
How are you, my friend?
I'm doing very well. How are you guys?
Doing good. And I did not call you Billy Squire for once in my head. Since the day I don't know if we met on
I've been called much worse.
On the Ravine. We didn't meet. That's the first time I saw you in action.
Mm-hmm.
And then we became social media friends. I mean, I need to talk to Billy Squire. No, Brian, it's Slaughter. And it has stuck for years. And I've been in your class. We've worked on movies together. We've done this podcast before together. And, I still hear, I don't want to say The Stroke, which is a Billy Squire song, when I see you, because that could be taken the wrong way.
I'm a fan of classic rock or rock in all forms. So again, I definitely could be worse. And a lot of people assume maybe it's a stage name because, as an actor with a memorable name. And I was like, okay, I can acknowledge it's right. I guess it's catchy or can be cool. But I'm like, if I could just choose any name in the whole, universe, ethosphere, like I wouldn't just be like, you know what, I'm going to be Billy Slaughter. Because I mean, I'm not the largest gentleman in real life.
Right.
Like inevitably, because it sounds like some just kick-ass action hero. And so,
Yeah, it does.
it's a lot to live up to, right? People that hadn't met or haven't met me before, it's like, oh man, Billy Slaughter's about, he's landed, he's here, he's going to enter the room. I come in, I'm like, hey guys, how we doing?
Hey.
And then it's my family name. I'm the 4th, so proud to be a Slaughter. A lot of history behind it, but it is, it's my real name. Well, and I know we're here to talk about Cajun Con coming up with so many different guests, of which I'm a part of, but like Sergeant Slaughter is going to be there. And being a kid from the 80s, I only met him. I met him once before, and it was just at a con I had done a few years back. But so I was trying to not be, a weird fan there, because it's like, we're peers, not in the pro wrestling realm, right? But just in the world of entertainment. And so I was trying to not come across weird and have it seem like I've been seeking you out my entire life. Like I've wanted to meet you, because people, I got that as a kid in the 80s, say, oh, you related to Sergeant Slaughter and all. And I'm like, I might be, I don't know. Like I'll talk to him. And of course, having, again, kid of the 80s, it's like such respect. He was one of, not only did you have like your wrestling figurines, but he was one of the only, and I know you guys know this, one of the only real human beings who was a G.I. Joe. And I mean, that's as close, forget acting, like that's as close to immortality as you could get. At least it was to my, 8-year-old self. So yeah, so much stuff to look forward to.
I think it's kind of cool that you and Brian both have unique enough names that you can use your real name. Hick also has a unique name. That's his real name. My name is as plain Jane white bread as it gets. Smith is just as common as it could possibly be. So I use a stage name.
Yeah,
I use my mom's maiden name just because it's a little more unique than Smith.
But with your look, you could go all in. You could have gone all in with the stage name. Maybe it's not too late. I mean, you could be like Ragnarok Johnson, I mean, some sort of just Norse, Yeah.
Maybe so. Thor. Nah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's very cool to have a unique name on IMDb, because I entered it twice accidentally. There's a 1 for Brian Plato and Brian Plato, but they're both me. And there's only like 5 Platos in the world that I've met or heard about, So finally, the uniqueness is paying off.
But then you're from Louisiana originally, yes?
Yes.
So of course, like many or Louisiana names, you got at least it's memorable, but then you get into the spelling pronunciation dilemma where, I just got back to France this past summer, and it was epic. But it's just, I can't get over the amount of useless letters. I'm not trying to offend anyone in our French demographic, but because again, it's something we see very much with like Cajun names and Louisiana names. It's like Plato, like how many, are you in AU? Are you in EAUX? Like how far down how many useless letters are we adding just to get the same end result.
Same pronunciation.
Yeah.
That's right.
I don't have an X. I'm not a Cajun, but I will be playing one very soon.
Ah,
Starting Friday.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Cajun
can't wait.
Jedi.
Yeah. I'm meeting with Dean West on Tuesday. We're going to go over. I pretty much know my character. You know what I mean?
awesome.
So I just want to see it from the other side. I've got a couple Cajuns reading my dialogue to make sure I can be funny. I don't have to be perfect. The character is supposed to be over the top, but if I can tweak it a little more, every little bit helps. And I'm very excited.
So
to
you're
do this.
getting to play your first Cajun character just
Whoosha.
before Cajun Con, just before the first, not just your first. If that's not the universe,
It's all coming together.
yeah.
And
I mean,
he's
you didn't
playing a
believe
Jedi.
before, my goodness, or at least the Force, right?
I may have thought that, but
Goddard
I
Force
forgot about the
figure.
combination of the two Cajun things.
Yeah,
My brain has been diverted with promoting and
see
with,
that?
studying
Meant
and
to be,
living.
meant to
TJ, we heard you. My first Jedi. Well, technically, because the voodoo zombie blunt man had a lightsaber. It was
Well, what was he? Was he a Jedi?
he wasn't a Jedi because blunt man, Kevin Smith's character,
Yeah.
has a bong saber because it's all weed humor. So if you've ever read let me try again. If you've ever read Judge Dredd, there's a character called Judge Death, and he is the exact opposite of Judge Dredd, who he's enforcing the law. Judge Death just wants everybody dead.
Mm.
So Blunt Man to Voodoo Zombie Blunt Man. Blunt's a bong
Blunt
saber.
man wants everyone high. That's
Yeah.
somewhere
Maybe I just
between
want
life and
myself
death.
high. I have a hookah pipe saber with a skull base, and we put some lights in it and stuff. So
Nice.
I even wrote an origin cartoon. So I think I'm gonna have to make it myself. But it'll be my second Jedi. No lightsaber this time, but I do have a magic staff, and it might not be real. Maybe I'm a charlatan. Maybe I'm the villain.
Uh-huh.
I happen to have a mustache I can twirl. I'm looking at our, like, I joined the facial hair club. Y'all know,
Yeah.
usually a lot of times I'm either
Finally.
clean shaven. So I'm not a mustache guy. And like it caught, in my peripheral. I'm like, what's on? Oh yeah, it's part of, I just had the honor of playing William Faulkner for a PBS docuseries.
Yeah.
So in terms of, those fun journeys, it's like to go from the deep dive of, highbrow literature and Southern literature and American history. Because I knew about it for a while. And one thing, beautiful with PBS behind it, like everything's so authoritative, right? So they have the real experts, like we were shooting in his home. I was at Faulkner's typewriter, but then
Wow.
I got enough time on the front end too, to do, like I said, proper research. Obviously I'm, from New Orleans originally, where he, even though he spent most of his life in Mississippi around Oxford, he wrote his first 2 novels here, so I got to walk in his footsteps here and do that research. So we can sort of claim that, it was in New Orleans that Faulkner became a novelist rather than just,
Yeah.
any other writer. I mean, so that's my excuse for the mustache.
I like it.
Yeah.
I don't think you need an excuse at all.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You're rocking it, man. You're rocking it.
Now you
Flirting will not get you any further.
I mean,
yeah.
maybe
I don't know where we'll see
That
you.
break my NDAs with
I don't know where we'll see you except for December 6th and 7th at Cajun Con.
Yeah, that's right.
Lamar Dixon Expo Center in Gonzales. About this beforehand, and you just mentioned something highbrow. Maybe there's something maybe a little more lowbrow if you wanted to drop that, but we can hold that off if you want.
No, I can. I'm actually. So for those listening, anybody coming out to Cajun Con or thinking about it, for me, it's a really cool time. Because I just worked on 2 projects back to back. I did Faulkner, of course, in his stomping ground in North Mississippi, and then I just got back, like still settling in, but just got back from Atlanta working on Scary Movie 6. So I'm very excited about that. Obviously, yeah, the con world, another, not just another like franchise, IP, pop culture, but I think categorically, right? It's like the definitive, horror comedy franchise. And I know they've been, obviously, I can't give too much away or anything with, story of my character, but I know they're doing they're already a lot of promotions and a lot of headlines and hype about it, because even though it's number 6, we got the original band back together. It's like it's the Wayans brothers and Anna Faris and just the original team that stepped away for a while. They're coming back. So as far
Wow.
as also things done like authoritatively, it's going to be. And then they kept announcing more and more cameos and people
Chris
get
Elliott.
added.
That's a-
Among many others, yeah. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. And then and then in other news, I can't talk too much about. So yeah, talk about things timing out. So Cajun Con is on December 6th, right? We're all gonna be there.
Mm-hmm.
It's opening weekend of Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which I won't say anything more than there are terrible rumors online that I may or may not be in. That's just so I'll be checking it out, fan. But what's cool about that is when I just started doing cons, that was when I was really getting into them more when the first one came out. Came out doesn't do it justice, right? When it like blew up.
Exploded. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so every con was just clamoring to get, like any cast members they could, anyone associated from the first one. So that's who I was doing all like my early cons with. I was you know, I was the other guy, right? So if you wanted other stuff at the time, like my very first con ever was RetroCon. And to as much as everyone has their niche, what was cool about that's like retro video games, right? So even though FNAF was a video game, right? I mean, that's still more or less pop culture, something newer. But I was in this was right after the first season of Twisted Metal came out, which I'm in, the TV series. So at least that was appropriate to that retro gaming audience, that grew up playing the Twisted Metals, going back to the 90s. So I was doing a lot of cons between Twisted Metal and also around the same time was when the new Anne Rice TV Immortal Universe was coming out. And of course, growing up, well, being from New Orleans, right, I was a fan of the Anne Rice world, and I loved the original Interview with a Vampire. So I was following that one more, but then as an actor, you never know sort of when the call is going to come. I ended up being a part of Mayfair Witches, but not just a part. I'm the very first character we meet in that, which was
Right.
like I said, which was super cool. Just on a NOLA Pride, but so it's been great meeting the fans. It's always nice meeting fans and interacting. But it's like, the gaming fans are different from then like, the horror con fans, especially like Anne Rice World where it's all gothic. And then the FNAF fans are amazing. It's like all different age groups and all, and they go all out with like their cosplay and things they put together. Yeah, just really, really good times. Fun stuff.
Very cool. And what would you say is something that you experienced at cons that you didn't expect since you were kind of a newbie in this past year to cons? What struck you as good or bad?
I will say, well, like anything before I do something, I'm going to I'll look into it, I'll do some research. So like I had attended cons, as a guest, as a fan. And then I started doing them more once I was entering the world. But I suppose for me, man, at the risk of sounding I don't want to sound cheesy and give you like a really inspired
No,
heartfelt,
bring it.
but that's the thing is that it's so easy to view them, and maybe when you're less familiar, view them just superficially, like, oh, it's the glitz and the hype and pop culture and merch and what can you sell or, you know, dress up, do like crazy stuff. But I guess just what was great was the genuine connections, just with people, not just across, not just among us, colleagues across different mediums.
Right.
Cause like we were saying, you might be a guest and then one of the other guests, you're a huge fan of their work and vice versa, or meeting people where it goes so far beyond something as simple as like, okay, they just want to snap your picture and move along, or you just want to sell them a picture and move them along. You get into just some really great conversations. You see families and sort of things that have been passed on generationally that then you get to be a part of. Yeah. So really, really great, I guess, the connectivity. And I mean, we know there's like just an increasing amount of things that divide us in life, or, people wanting to put us in certain boxes. And God, I hate to get, hate to go all, I certainly don't want to get into politics, but it's how, was it Obama who was saying, we have far more in common, when like it really gets down to it, than the things that are amplified that make us all different. And so it's really nice in the con world that sort of everything outside of that building is put aside. And it's like, dude, we're not just all fans of something, we're all fans of the same thing, and so it's really great when you can talk, trade stories, trade stuff, compare.
I'm going to give you a word.
So I love that.
You can use from now on: community.
There you go.
Yeah,
it absolutely is.
I have my nerd group and my New Orleans group, and I'm always trying to be funny. Sometimes I am, and if I say a joke in the nerd group about nerd stuff, they usually get it. Same thing for NOLA. But if you reverse that, they may not be from here. And the normals who, when I say something nerdy, I get the crickets. But at a con, I can just say something not trying and get a whole bunch of laughs. And you're like, they understand both halves of that. Oh my God. You find your people, you find your tribe.
Yeah.
And you can belong to multiple tribes, because we know I'm a Disney adult, and I talk their ears off even more. And while you were talking, I pictured how you were saying behind the table, celebrities and guests.
You
and
picture
make
me behind the table? That's a little, what happens behind the table?
Yeah. Well, it's in plain view for those who don't know. It's called a booth, but it's just a table. Although they do have table skirts, Billy. I don't know how you.
Yes, I
but
know.
Across the
I wear pants at my cons. I'm just saying there's only so much mystery behind
and none of us are wearing them
the
now
table.
because it's Zoom. So
yeah.
But like, I will pay for a picture with a celebrity. Like I have two with Jason Momoa. People are like, why you pay so much? And when I do it, I always plus the picture to make it fun. And I usually make them laugh too. So I'm paying for their time. And it's a good experience. But for you, and hopefully us one day, you hear about the fans are like, oh, I love this part of your work. So you get that connection you don't get to see. Yeah, you get ratings when Mayfair Witches come out.
Yeah.
But when somebody's like, oh, I love that scene, that was my favorite character, that will get you through the hard times, through the thin times, like we've been experiencing, not many auditions.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So,
and another word of the day, symbiosis. Like the relationship is completely symbiotic, where there's equal give and take in it. I mean, even like you said, you might be like, okay, you might be one of any number of people just waiting to meet a Jason Momoa or whatnot, but then you can have an interaction where you might do something, you might say something, as I know people have to me, like you're alluding to, that will, I mean, not just make his day, make his day, make my week or month. Yeah, it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah. And people talk costumes. I don't go full out. Like the 501 Stormtroopers, the Legion, they have down to the last nut and bolt, their costumes are perfect. And they've spent time, energy, and money, and I applaud them for it. And it's hot. You know what I mean? I'm leaning more, especially now that I'm getting older, for comfort. But for Jason Momoa, I had an old Aquaman t-shirt with the Super Friends one, blonde-haired white guy, 2 pieces of duct tape, and I wore SUX. Sucks. Aquaman sucks.
Yeah.
So first his agent saw me, because when you do a con, if you don't know, folks, you pay for the photo op, and then you get in a line, and then you get into another line past the curtain, and then you meet the star, and you get to talk for a minute, especially if you have to focus and don't wander too much. I'll be like, hey, I loved you in this. This is my idea for the picture. Bam, you're gone. It's quick.
It's your chance at like here's your the 2-minute elevator pitch.
Yeah. And that's it. I've gotten finessed at it. And I can make stars laugh and all that, which is
it's definitely an art, because it's one of those life exercises where we've all mused, like, oh God, if you met this person or your hero or your celebrity crush, like what would you even say or do? And it's like, you actually have to answer that question. You got a game plan, and like, here's your chance. So
right.
Yeah. Don't screw it up. But yeah, it's great. You make the most of it. It's fantastic.
Thank you. So I had my idea, and first his agent goes, she saw the shirt and said, tell me a story. And I did. She goes, oh, that's great. And she goes, Jason. And he had a few drinks. He wasn't drunk, but he was tipsy and having fun. He goes, Jason, check out his shirt. So I step up. Dude is humongous. 6'6", 5", I don't know. Looks so much bigger. Solid muscle. And I go, first of all, I don't hate Aquaman. And he smiles, sees the shirt, his face drops, and his right foot went from in front of him to behind him.
Like
And
he's gonna-
my knees buckled a little. And I said, this is my idea for the picture. And he laughed and bent to the belly. So what it was, Aquaman sucks. I had him do the telepathic move. And then later I added sharks.
Nice.
I had thought about going to Party City and getting balloon stuff because I wanted to cover my fat. I'll say it. But having balloons around me.
When any of us are standing next to Momoa, you're gonna feel a little bit less than,
Yeah. So that's like, I'll put that into pictures in Photoshop, but I will not put the star in. That's my ethics for it.
Yeah, cool.
So I sent that to Wizard World. They had shared Jason and Jimmy Fallon playing War, and then they throw cups of water in their face. I said, if you think that's cool, check out this picture. And they went, you just won the contest that didn't happen. Heck, a free autograph. So I got a
Nice.
David Tennant, which was worth $5 less than the picture I paid for with Jason.
Super
So-
cool. Well, see, and again, now the connectivity, I can relate. I was working to further bond us all. I happened to be working on a project with Jason when he was cast as Aquaman. We were doing it was kind of a short-lived series on the Sundance TV. So again, more like indie highbrow, but it was called The Red Road. We had, certainly Cool Guy was a nice
saw that.
team they put together. Good on you. Yeah. You're the guy who was sent 3 cents of residuals, but no, it was solid. But of course it wasn't, it held nothing on what he was on the verge of of doing. But so just that, it was so funny because you never know where you'll end up. We were there, just doing our jobs and trying to make a solid show. And we ended up when we wrapped, and again, to his credit for all the stars that don't even want people to talk to him. He's like, all right, yeah, let's go. Anyone want to go grab a drink or something? So it's like all of a sudden you don't know when you wake up that morning. Fast forward, I'm hanging out, and it was so we were shooting outside Atlanta, so we ended up, is it Cabbage Town, or just like the reason it's important, it just was some dark, like wooden, inn, get like tavern type thing. So to be, if like there was ever a time or place that me or one would go out for drinks with Momoa. Now, of course, as a huge fan of Game of Thrones, and as a character actor, like talk about perfect casting. I got to witness firsthand. He is a living barbarian warlord. Other people are just like getting their little, happy hour sips in, after work. I mean, it's like this time reverse to, medieval times. He's slamming his ale on the table and his mug, and he's like tossing stools and getting excited. And so again, now I being there, like right when as right around the time he was getting the news, he was getting to be a superhero and Aquaman. So he was in extra good spirits and excitable. But yeah, so just to have a little front row seat at that process was really cool. Talk about in the world of fandom, like seeing him firsthand making the shift real time from like fan of stuff we all grew up on, or to being able to inhabit that. It was fantastic.
Awesome. And now he's gonna.
What's the coolest thing? Oh, sorry, Brian.
No, I was just gonna say, now he's gonna be Lobo, which is what he was meant to be.
Yeah, another just like
No makeup,
absolute
I'm sure.
slam dunk. Yeah.
He doesn't even need it. Part of my interruption bit.
And his show about the Hawaiian, I can't remember what it's called. I'm drawing a blank on it, but the
Hawaiian Warriors.
Hawaiian Warrior,
The Islanders.
that the cinematography alone in that is just incredible. But so what I was going to ask,
Did you see the whole season? 'Cause
Yeah.
I remember seeing all the advertisements for that and just putting that on my short list. Like, I have to check this out. Like you're saying, it not only looks so epic, but everyone involved, because there hasn't been too much about like the PI culture.
and it's an incredible. I mean, I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah.
Culture.
You're right. I mean, it's and
Very well.
So there's so much pride in that culture, and outside of just like scratching the surface on like a Moana or something, where we've seen it animated, but where, like you said, we just a chance for people going back generations where they feel like they get a part, not just a front row seat. Like, they're able to help tell their own stories and the story of their people and their land and their way and their history. Yeah, it looks kick ass. Thank you for reminding me. I need to check that
Yeah.
out.
All right. So here's the question. What is the coolest thing that a fan has said to you? It may be putting you on the spot. It may be hard to come
Hmm.
up with on the spot that you can think of at a con that didn't come across like creepy, like, oh, that was cool. That was well thought out, you know?
You're right. Definitely, like, I'd have to think back on, because a lot of words are exchanged. So as far as like a specific something somebody told me, I mean, I'm sure without giving a specific example, we've kind of all been in that situation where, like, I don't want to say to the extent where, you save someone's life, but people can be very candid, and like that goes a long ways when somebody, once again, when kind of we might think we're there for, just for fun or for hype, or people, think something sensational or just about promotions or sales. And when you do meet people that were like, look, I was just not in a great place in life. And, I just happened, like, whatever you were involved in, I saw something, it was the right thing at the right time. And yeah, not only like helped me just kind of view things differently or got life back on course. I mean, yeah, for some, it's literally, saved a life. So, those conversations definitely stay with you. Now, on the lighter note, just because this one is so specific and was a one-time occurrence, I'll definitely give some shout outs here. I was doing, as a matter of fact, I was doing the con I had mentioned. I was doing a retro con, and we were setting up for it. And a buddy of mine, actor Creek Wilson, who's
Yeah.
also going to be at Cajun Con, right? So
Yeah.
Creek does a lot of cons, and like Plato was saying, that's so cool. The sense of community, because you might see, sometimes people and things are one-offs, and that's what makes it special. It's like a one-time event, something rare. But then the flip side is you have a lot of the same, it might be the same people that do cons, or the same ones that put them on, the same that attend. So there's a lot of there's a lot of connecting, there's a lot of crossover. So Creek does a whole bunch of cons. We cross paths at a lot, and finally we were doing one together, which we'd wanted to do for a while, but we were right next to each other. And I would say, you talked about sort of discoveries that can affect the experience a lot too. Like who you're with, or maybe some of the logistical management of the like if you're stuck in some like back dark corner lost, or if you're just immersed in a lot of really cool stuff going on. So Creek. So we're all setting up before the calm before the storm, right? He goes all out, like, he's talk about feeling inadequate. So I'm like nicely stacking my little pictures, and adjusting this. And he's like setting up animatronics, and I feel like things are
Yeah.
smoking, so it's this like 4D experience. So I'm like, dude, I mean, nice, right? So then he drops big bucket of a double, like, what do you, of watermelons, little watermelons on the table. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm like, what you got there, Creek? So in Twisted Metal,
Yeah.
which I already mentioned, so we're
Yeah.
cast members in that. He plays Mr. Slam, and so his whole shtick, God, maybe the wrong, no pun if if that's not bleeped. I said shtick. He, with his with his ample manhood, he crushes watermelons. That's the character does, right? I would say I'm not slandering Creek, but he'd probably be like, that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said about me. So he's like, oh man, yeah, fans go crazy. They meet Mr. Slam, they want to get a watermelon. Like, he doesn't, I don't think yeah, you couldn't pay enough. He's not slamming your watermelons. Let me for liability purposes, it's still family friendly, but he's like, fans love me to sign. It's a nice custom thing, right? So he, in the same show, Twisted Metal, he's like, man, you got to get like your little custom. So my character, Kerwin, in that, is a body part collecting psycho, but everyone's got their thing, and he prefers ears. So yeah, he keeps a butcher knife holstered, and if you cross him, you might just lose an ear, and then he keeps his ear necklace and other, makes jewelry and stuff. So he was, he's like, yeah, man, you should like get some ears. and start and so I'm like, of course, yes, of course. So, the beauty of timing, this was, I think it was in early October, where like no matter where you are in the world, there's a Spirit Halloween, like 3 blocks away.
Yeah.
So sure enough, I mean, this is out of town. So I'm like, all right, nearest Spirit. And then, yeah, it's like, it's blocks away. So I go there. This was a Saturday. So yeah, so I go and I walk in, and likewise, you're like, okay, or like you say about finding your tribe, most other places in most realms, if you walk into an establishment of business and they're like, can I help you? And you're like, I need ears. I'm looking for just a bunch of ears, as many, preferably severed or bagged. So I walk into Spirit, and it's like, yeah, looking for anything? I'm like, yeah. Do you have a bag or of ears, or maybe a jar, or a sack? Like, just I need ears. And the lovely associate was like, yes, we do, right this way. And so here you go. So just here's a bag of ears. So I get my bags of ears, and I show up the next day at the con, and I'm putting out, and sure enough, the fans loved it. So fans of Twisted Metal could get a custom signed ear. Um, and then I had a fan who he was so excited about getting the ear. That's right, because he had come 2 days in a row. So like he didn't see the ears before. We were talking a lot about Twisted Metal. So he came back, and he's like, what? I can get an ear from you. This is great. So he's all excited. And now we connect, we chat some more. Nice little exchange. I made his day. Creek helped inspire me the day before. And so now, fast forward, like months had passed, and I was doing another con, still in the same region, but completely different city. And, the days going by, and a guy just comes running up to me, and he's like, hey, he's like, I'm the ear guy. So I'm like, yes, yes. He might have been in a different costume. So I'm like, absolutely. I remember you. Yeah. So he's like, I brought you something. I brought you something. What? So he pulls out, and sure, so now he's gifted me my own ear necklace, which now I immediately put on, and I've worn it at many cons since.
I
So
saw it. I saw it at the
yeah,
one where we ran into you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
there you go. So yeah, again, just little stories like that where you start connecting the dots, and it's not about the stuff, man. It's about, the people and the experiences and the memories. Yeah, and that ends up being the greatest reminders, takeaways, that something that, on the surface might not be a big deal. We as actors, we might be shooting one scene in one show, and that's our Tuesday, and we're not, like, it's great when it is epic or can be life altering for you, right? But they aren't all that. But you just never know. For someone else, no matter how small the role, no matter how obscure the project, that could be like, one of their favorite things. And so it's great when you experience that. And even like just from the interactive standpoint, like you were saying, Play-Doh, where that's what's different with the cons, rather than just like, you could buy anything on eBay, or, I mean, you could pay for just about anything. Yeah, something, one, just a gesture or something, whether it's something the guest can say that will stick with that person forever. They'll literally be telling their grandkids about it, but vice versa. And that's what's important to understand too, that, yeah, absolutely, that you meet fans, and they can say something that can, you'll take to your grave. It's just really meaningful.
Yeah. The stuff isn't important, but it's kind of like Mardi Gras. So they'll throw beads all day, and you have regular beads, which are nice. But then when you catch a cup, when you catch a medallion bead,
Yeah.
Bill Farrell, when he was king of Bacchus,
Mm.
had cowbell
Cowbell.
beads, and I didn't go. It was too cold that day. What the? Oh, I missed that. I gave blood not during the interview with the vampire, but during the time that it came out. It's not like I was sitting in a movie theater and they were draining me. But I have a signed Squeaky Rat from Anne Rice. So,
Nice.
and then Hacksaw Jim Duggan was in town for WrestleMania 30, which was our first one here. And then they had a Mid-South convention. Yeah. And I'm a Mid-South boy from the whole time. He signed a 2x4 for me.
Perfect.
Nice.
So he'll be at Cajun Con. Maybe he'll have some more. Probably will.
Yeah, and
So-
things that, again, like, a lot of people have their 2x4s laying around that are literally part of like scrap piles, and now here's one, where it's like, oh yeah, that was, that it connects you to that experience, and growing up, or and then whatever, a relative or a friend who turned you on to that, or you were watching. I know I'm looking. I got some of like my merch or memorabilia. What was one you were oh, you had just mentioned, I was thinking the rest. Oh, you're talking parades. Yeah, so people, yeah, at Mardi Gras, and it is ironic, right? People will go insane, and the lengths people will go to legally and illegally to obtain, things that at most other days of the year you might be able to buy for like, 35 cents this pair of or like
Right.
once they hit the ground and land in the puddle, nobody, you don't give, 2 seconds later, no one cares. But I got some of my being, New Orleans boy, some like Saints memorabilia. So this was caught at the Super Bowl winning parade.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was a signature Sean Payton, just where it was one of those, seemed like the stars aligned, all the chaos and people. I mean, the city, we were beside ourselves. And again, beyond just like the normal excitement frenzy, so exceeded sports, because as most listeners, even that aren't from here, might be aware, the Saints road to the Super Bowl, that was what for locals is kind of considered the official bookend of Katrina. Like that's when we were able to like turn a corner and sort of like the city's back and we can all move forward. So really meaningful stuff. And yeah, just everything happening everywhere. And then it was one of those where he just like our eyes met, and he, it was intended. So some of those things it certainly
Very
held
cool.
on to, and you never know. So it's like here's a bookshelf, and I lose track, and that's what's great. Where it just might seem, anyone could pass it, and then I could pick up any random one. Like, okay, here's what Death of a Salesman, Arthur Miller. I got some of my plays. Only this one was personally messaged and signed by the OG Willie Loman, by Dustin Hoffman himself.
Wow.
Where do we go? So to Billy with affection and gratitude, Dustin Hoffman. Because I got to work with Dustin early in my career, and he and I hit it off, and he invited me to move to LA to be his regular stand-in for a while, which was basically my grad school in the industry. But just one of my, so someone who of course was just a fan of growing up, a fan of his work. I mean, you just never know. Ended up being a personal mentor of mine, So some really great shared experiences. Yeah. Okay. Maybe one more. I'll show you. So before it becomes like QVC or like, or talk about childhood, I feel like we're going back to show and tell. Today I brought, no, but all these like, they just start jumping out and all. So, oh yeah. So we mentioned like Katrina, like most people here, lost just about everything. So then the few things that survive become even more meaningful, So kid growing up in the 80s, it's like, my comics went away and my Epic and G.I. Joe collection and stuff. But it wasn't until like years later, just as far as like collectibles and merch, like I think the only thing that survived is I found my old Marvel cards, like the first runs, the first generation. And so that was cool, something I enjoyed as a kid, and now it like survived Katrina. So now like, and an adult, it's super meaningful. And then I end up working on, so and then coming back, like this was Magnificent Seven, an amazing cast there. And I got to work with, another actor I'd always just really admired, but Vincent D'Onofrio. And so who then went on to, of course, remaking a classic Western is pretty cool, right? But just like Momoa, he went on to being Kingpin in the MCU. So like that's the first Series 1 Marvel card that Vince signed for me. Daredevil and Kingpin. Yeah, good times.
It's good to be the actor, huh?
That's right.
To paraphrase Mel Brooks.
Well, again, it's not, because a lot of actors get a bad rap, and that's, if anything, that's the point I'm trying to establish. It definitely goes beyond people. Well, as most actors know, people that aren't actors, yeah, they think like, oh man, they've seen you in something. Anyone who's been on any screen, TV, film, a commercial, right? Like you're instantly rich and famous, which we know couldn't be further from the truth. That it's, for as a public service announcement, it really just like in the rest, we're people too, which we discover at the cons, but like the rest of society, there's kind of the one percenters and then there's keeping things moving, then there's the rest of us. So like that's the top 1% or the celebs. The rest of us are honest working class folks who are happy to be doing it when we get the chance to do it. And sometimes you get to do it a good bit, sometimes it's a while, and man, without going down that, rabbit hole, we know it's a really tough, because I feel like still a lot of people aren't aware we find ourselves in a really tough spot in the entertainment industry.
We need to take a quick break to pay the bills. Have you been injured through someone else's negligence? New Orleans-based actor Jana McCaffery has been practicing law in Louisiana since 1999, specializing in personal injury since 2008. Jana takes helping others very seriously, so if you've been injured, she's offering a free consultation and a reduced fee to fellow members of the Louisiana film industry. She's committed to helping the injured, and she will handle your case with professionalism and determination from start to finish. Information in the description below. Now let's get back to the episode.
But not just tough in like, okay, the regular ebb and flow, and we're in like a little lull, just unprecedented. I mean, I guess the main, to give perspective, probably where the switch flipped was since the beginning of Hollywood, right? It's been run by the Hollywood studios. And then once the streamers took over, and, I know, so for the average person, they just that enjoy, works their hard job and enjoys just coming and home and having an hour to Netflix and chill. Now ultimately the streamers are just divisions of international mega corporations. And so we know, I mean, with new technology, there's a lot of great opportunity to connect with people as we're doing. But then there's also, when you get into, we just always have to watch the risk, just like where everyone's exploring with AI right now, where, with great power, to bring it back to Marvel, great power comes great responsibility. And, as long as, if we can use technology as a tool to further connect people, connect us, help people, help society, and not just pull those further apart and further down. So that's where we are. So we're kind of in uncharted territory, and it's hard to say what things are going to look like moving forward, other than we are seeing now more of, for like the new avenues that pop up. Yeah, cons used to be so much more niche and obscure, and now they're becoming much more of a part of pop culture, which is cool.
Yeah.
And the common, like, people that, like you were saying, didn't grow up being called nerd or considering themselves nerd, right? Like the captain of the football, like all these, again, like our bubbles that we were supposed to live in before, or, the corners you're supposed to go to. Like, you can see the star athlete might be at a con, and he's just as excited as, the nerd, or like, the hot girl is, is doing her cosplay thing. And
It's acceptable
great.
now.
Yeah.
So we crawled through glass so you could
right.
walk and run, and you should be grateful.
Bleed the trails.
That's right.
Being a nerd hurt, but we won't want to talk about that.
Often literally. Yeah, you're right. We took
Emotionally, physically.
it took a lot of beatings for some of this pop culture stuff to become cool.
The word swirly comes to mind, but I won't say what I've lost. But Billy, we've enjoyed talking to you, as we always do. We've enjoyed having people share this time with us, but
Always so much fun.
we're going to let you go. But not in that way. Just, we're going to say goodbye and then see you at
Very
Cajun
soon.
Con, December 6th and 7th, Lamar Dixon Expo Center in Gonzales, Louisiana. Come join us and nerd out.
Nerd
I
out.
can't wait. It's going to be super exciting. So many folks are there. So yeah,
Man,
come on out.
I'm looking forward to seeing you there.
Likewise.
I'm even looking forward to seeing TJ.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing Sergeant Slaughter again.
Yeah.
And so fans, I would suggest they should seek us out, and maybe we can do like a Slaughter tag team duo, combo.
Slaughter Boys.
Something.
Yeah, the Slaughters.
You've got to get glasses, and if not, his same hat, something to allude to that. Something in your world.
I might be 3 steps ahead of you.
Go.
So there we go. There, we'll leave with that teaser.
Here we go.
Bring it on.
Hey.
See you.
All right, folks. See you next time.